Godnaldo has spoken. Godnaldo has spoken. Okay, look. First off, look. If Cristiano says it, then it must be true. If Chris says it, it must be true because it's Godnaldo. So we cannot reject what Godnaldo says. Okay, let's kick it people right now. Look, there are so many of these awards. So you've got the Ballon d'Or, you've got the FIFA the Best, you've got these Globe Soccer Awards. There are so many of these freaking awards. But I'll get us to that afterwards. I think, look, because the angle I'm coming at there is, again, I don't want to go over the whole thing, Rodri, because I've done so many videos about it, so I don't need to pretty much retread that thing again. But when you just look at Cristiano Ronaldo and why he said Vini deserved it, and he pointed to Champions League, and you have to understand that for Cristiano, see, that's why for him saying that, it would resonate so much from Vini because you are literally looking at the greatest Champions League player of all time. Literally. Now, when you just look at the best player who's played in the Champions League, okay, you throw in a Messi, you throw in a Zidane, you throw in a Dino, throw in a Del Piero. But in terms of the greatest, in terms of how good he was and what he did, Cristiano Ronaldo is the greatest Champions League player of all time. And that still stands. So when the greatest player in Champions League history and one of the greats in the club game says that you deserved it, it resonates. So for Vinny, he'd be like, okay, which is what Vinny said afterwards, if this guy who I've looked up to and has been a guy who was breaking records when I was just trying to get into the game or when I was young, if he says I deserved it, that means more than a whole bunch of these no-name journalists, some of who have actually stepped down, putting their votes for whatever reason. So, and see, my whole thing though is, Vinny, you can't ignore the whole Brazil thing. That stuff is there. But it is the Champions League. And he was the best player in the Champions League, specifically in the critical games. And I just feel that Vinny winning that Ballon d'Or, it just makes sense. It just makes sense. Like, put it this way. If Vinicius won that Ballon d'Or, how many people would complain outside of maybe City fans? How many people would complain? I have never heard of a Ballon d'Or winner where there have been so many complaints about him. In my history of the Ballon d'Or, there has never ever been a Ballon d'Or winner where so many people have said, oh, how? What? That it literally was a robbery. So it is the most kind of contested, the most argued about, and I think it is the most controversial Ballon d'Or win that there's ever been. Because it isn't a universal thing where people want to Rodri. But I do feel that for Cristiano Ronaldo saying that is like, because from Cristiano's point of view, all he sees is Champions League. So Cristiano's point of view is like, okay, it doesn't matter what happened to he did with Brazil because that's Copa America or that's Euros. The fact that you were critical in the Champions League, you were critical in the key games, in the UCL semi and in the final. What do I say? You ball in the semi, you ball in the final. That is all that matters. So from his point of view, he's like, no, Vini deserves it. And how do you not give it to a guy who was extraordinary in the league and extraordinary in the UCL? So, and again, this goes back to the GOAT rights back. What did the GOAT rights back say? A.K.A. Bart Simpson. Bart Simpson said, it wouldn't just be easy if we have the best forward, the best midfielder, the best defender, the best keeper. Then it's a lot more easier because what a DM does, an attacker can't do. What an attacker does, a DM can't do. A DM can score 20 goals and have 17 assists. They can't do that. And an attacker cannot read the game, intercept the game, or control the midfield the way that a DM does. So how do you really... So, and this is the reality. And I think it's unfortunate, but this is the reality. I don't tell you how things should be. I just tell you how things are. How things are that more likely than not, the best player has to be an attacking player. Unless a defender or a midfielder does something extraordinary or a keeper does something extraordinary, that's when you say, wow. Hence why when Cannavaro won it, or when Van Dijk almost won it, because think about it. If not for Messi being the freak he was, Van Dijk would have won that Ballon d'Or. And then it's like, bro, like how many defenders have won that damn award? So, and if Germany had won that World Cup, Oliver Kahn would have won that Ballon d'Or. How many keepers have won that Ballon d'Or? So, for And that's just an unfortunate thing. The keeper, the defender, the defensive midfielder, even the midfielder, they have to do a lot more to win it. Because let's be real, more when you talk of the best players who played the game, we think of Pele, we think of Maradona, we think of Zidane, we think of Ronaldinho, we think of Messi, we think of Nazario, So, and these are mostly attacking players. Now, you threw in a Beckenbauer in there, you threw in a Maldini in there, and for me, I threw in a Bart Simpson in there, you threw in a Cafu. But the first things that come to your minds are those attacking players. So, hence why it always makes much more sense to give it to that attacking player, because those are the players who will be seen as the greats, and those are the guys that we gravitate towards. Because again, Rodri, quality amazing player, and he's amazing for the role that he does. But even uttering the words, Rodri is the best player in the world, it just doesn't feel right. Like when you just say, yeah, at that point, Zidane was the best player in the world. At that point, Figo was the best player in the world. At that point, Madri was the best player in the world. Messi was the best player in the world. Cristiano was the best in the world. Just like saying that sentence, like it feels right. Honestly, just keep saying to yourself, Rodri is the best player in the world. It doesn't sound right. Like, just say those words. Rodri is the best player in the world. It doesn't sound right. Vini is the best player in the world. That sounds right. Bellingham is the best player in the world. It sounds right. And I'll be real with you. Lautaro Martinez is the best player in the world. That doesn't sound right. Even though that I would give it to him on the technicality of he did the best in terms of domestic and for internationals, saying Lautaro Martinez is the best player in the world doesn't seem right. Whether you like it or not, whether you just say, oh, he flopped for Brazil, he flopped for Copa America, saying Vinnie Jr. is the best player in the world, that sounds right. Nobody will argue. And if Vinnie Jr. won that award, how many people will say, oh, he doesn't deserve it, this is an injustice? How many people will say it's an injustice that he won it based on how he flopped in Copa America? Not many people would. But everybody, I told you, for as long as time goes, people go against Rodri. And what I said about this whole thing, Rodri's time was when they won the treble. Because he was outstanding, he was superb, he scored against Real Madrid, and he scored the winning goal. That was when he won. 100% fully deserved it, and him winning it would have been a truly amazing achievement of what he did as a DM and how critical he was as a DM, being spearheading these guys to a treble. Him winning the past it was bogus. That treble winning season, that was when Rodri would have won it, and that's when no arguments, he deserved it. But World Cup tax, World Cup tax. If not for that World Cup and what Messi did at that World Cup, Rodri wins that. 100% he wins that. Like, the only reason Cannavaro won that Ballon d'Or was what he did in the World Cup. He was trash in the domestic season. So, but look, as I said again, it is Mr. UCL. And if Mr. UCL decrease it, it is what it is, man. So yeah, shout out to your boy, Code Ronaldo. See you guys. We'll hang out. Like that vid. Subscribe. I'll see you guys on the other one. One love. One love.